Have you been hearing all the hype and the buzz about cold plunges and wondering, are they actually worth it? In today's episode, I talk with Ciaran Flanagan, the founder of Inergize Health, who has built a portable cold plunge that can also form as a hot tub. In this episode, we're going to dive deep into the real science-backed benefits of cold exposure, from improved mood and mental resilience to enhanced recovery, increased energy, and even better immune health. You'll learn exactly what's happening inside of your body during a cold plunge, how cold the water needs to be to get the benefits, how long you should stay in, and whether or not cold showers are a good starting point. This episode, you'll leave with clarity and confidence that you need to start incorporating cold therapy into your routine in a way that actually gets results. Before we dive in, if you're listening on the Apple Podcast app or on Spotify, make sure you hit the follow button. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit like and subscribe down below. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Best You Podcast. Today, I am super excited to be joined by Ciaran Flanagan. Really excited today to talk about cold exposure, cold immersion. I know it's a topic that has increasingly gained popularity over the last several years, and excited to dive into what it is, but really the benefits of cold exposure and cold immersion, y'all's particular product at Inergize Health, and then really excited to talk about kind of like protocols, like how long should you be in, what should the temperature really be like, how many days a week, all that kind of stuff as well. But to kind of start off the conversation, I kind of want to frame things up as to how I kind of have learned up to this point what some of the major benefits are of cold exposure and cold immersion. So I'll kind of list off those benefits just high level, and then I want you to kind of like let me know if they're accurate. Let me know if there's anything that you'd like to add or anything you'd remove, and then we'll dive into kind of each one individually, and we'll expand on that. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Sweet. Sweet. So I think one of the first biggest benefits is the mental benefits, like improving your resilience and improving your mood. Secondly is performance benefits, helping to reduce inflammation, improve recovery. And then one of the other ones being improving your immune system and decreasing the amount of time that you could potentially get sick as well. There's some metabolic benefits as well, potentially, but I kind of want to I think mainly focus on those three today. Does that feel like a good overarching three to kind of dive into?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. It's usually the main benefits people look for are the energy and recovery. So yeah, you hit those.
Sweet. Energy and recovery. We'll make sure we like specifically use some of that language as well. So let's talk about the mental benefits, improving resilience and mood. I think one of the non-scientific ways to think about it, from like if all science was out the window, one of the greatest things about cold exposure is that you make yourself do something difficult, and therefore you build discipline and you build confidence and you build resilience. So that's kind of, to an extent, some of the resilience benefits. I know there's some more science a little bit behind that as well, but I know it helps improve mood as well. So kind of riff a little bit on what is actually happening when we do cold exposure and cold immersion that helps us to improve resilience and mood.
Yeah, well, just as you said, when you're standing over a barrel of ice or a cold plunge at 37 degrees, you've got two choices: either back off and you listen to your inner voice, or you step in and just take the plunge and you face your fear. So it's that moment split decision that builds the confidence. So if you stack those on a daily basis, so if you're getting in the cold shower, getting in the cold plunge, it's like those small daily wins that add up and build the discipline and reinforces that identity. On the stress side of things, so on the scientific level of like stress resilience, the cold plunge is like a training ground for your mind. So when you get in the cold plunge, it's super stressful, you're hyperventilating, and you have to like override that with basically your mind and your body. So when you get in the cold plunge, you're hyperventilating, your sympathetic state is activated, which is fight or flight. Then after a minute and a half, you switch into the parasympathetic state. So that then you go into that restful, easy state where you're breathing deeply and you're in a meditative, calm state. Your muscles are relaxed, your breathing's deep, and your focus present. There's nothing in your head, and that system, that switch into that system helps translate into your day-to-day life. So when something pops up at work, like, or you've got an employee issue or a work issue, or someone cuts you off at work, then that cortisol spike is less like abrupt, and you're able to regulate yourself a lot easier because you've been basically training in a stressful environment, like on a regular basis in the cold, whether it's a shower or a cold plunge or an ice bath. So that's kind of like, it's basically trains your nervous system. To recap.
Gotcha. What you said when you first get in, your sympathetic state is activated, that fight or flight, and then over time your parasympathetic state of your nervous system kicks in. Is there like science with regards to how long that takes, and then when you do it over and over again, does the time of switching from one part of the nervous system to the other decrease? Like, do you have any idea about that kind of thing?
That's a great question. So yeah, usually it takes, for the first time, it might take a bit longer, or 2 to 3 minutes for your body and mind to calm down. I see it for the first timers, it takes them a long time to like get through that stressful time. But as you do it more and more, and especially if you have an increased difficulty, then that time decreases. So as like an advanced cold plunger or advanced cold shower or ice bather, you want to increase the difficulty more and more. So you keep on adding the stress to your mind and body. So to do that, you decrease the temperature, or you increase the time, or if you've got a cold bath or a cold tub, you can do things to increase the difficulty, where you can move your body to reduce the thermal layer. That makes it harder. You can head dunk. It activates the mammalian dive reflex. It's the most like sensitive part in your body, your face and your head. You can submerge your hands, you can get up and get back in. So there's like a lot of different ways that you can add more stress to it if you get to that level. But yeah, for me, I've been cold plunging for 60 days straight recently. So I have noticed what you said, like the time does decrease. I get in, I lose my breath for like a few seconds, and then I remain like I'm more calm. Whereas when you just first start, you're jumping into 37-degree water, it's going to take a long time to get to that equilibrium state. So it's just training.
Yeah. No, I love it. And I love how you already dove into some of kind of the ways that you make it more difficult, as if people who are listening who've never jumped into 37-degree water, you won't want to find ways to make it all that more difficult in the beginning, but then over time, the more and more you can't ever really master it, right? There's an infinite number of ways that you can probably continue to make it more difficult. But before we get into maybe some of the more protocol stuff, I guess just to kind of maybe wrap up that first section a little bit, it sounds like the mental benefits and like the improvements of overall stress resilience is that when you first jump in the cold water, the transition from the sympathetic state to the parasympathetic state is a little bit longer. And then as you do it more often, the transition is shorter. Therefore, that should happen in everyday life as well. So when a stressful situation pops up, your nervous system has been trained via the cold exposure and cold immersion to be like, okay, I've done this before. I can handle it. You don't need to react right away. You can pause, slow down, and respond a little bit more thoughtfully.
Exactly. And the peaks of stress seem a lot less jarring. Like when something stressful pops up and you've been doing the cold immersion, it feels like it feels a lot less stressful than if you were to do it without the cold immersion. Like it feels more intense, I would say, if you're not incorporating the practice in your day to day.
Yeah. Great. Okay, I want to transition into the performance benefits a little bit. You kind of mentioned energy and recovery being a couple of probably the topics we'll discuss with regards to performance benefits. So give us an overarching idea of what we mean by performance benefits. Which specific performance benefits do we get from cold immersion?
Yeah, so when you get in the cold water, your blood rushes to your core, and it just moves from your extremities into your core, into your vital organs. And when you get out of the cold plunge, your blood rushes back to your extremities, and that vaso pump, if you will, helps flush out lactic acid and inflammation in your muscles. So that's what like athletes love to use it for, is to reduce their inflammation, get back to training quicker. It also instantly reduces soreness in your joints and muscles as well. So it it dampens the nerve endings in your pain receptor, so it helps with any sore joints or muscles. And it also triggers a drop in pro-inflammatory cytokines, so that they're little messengers in your body that fuel chronic inflammation. So yeah, it hits a lot of different aspects. And when you pair cold immersion even with hot like saunas, then that vaso pump gets more intense, and that it helps flush out like any toxins and your lactic acid a lot quicker.
So let's expand on this a little bit. This idea of this vaso pump. So basically, if I'm jumping into a cold tub that's cold enough, the blood that is in my extremities, if you will, my arms, my legs, rushes to my vital organs because it thinks like, holy crap, you need to maintain your internal body temperature or you're going to get hypothermia and you're going to die. And then, I guess the blood stays in your core for the duration of which you're in that cold exposure. And then once you get out, blood then disperses in. It's like fresh blood that disperses into the extremities, or try to break that down more specifically for me.
I guess like the science of it is your veins, everything like constricts. So the blood rushes to your core, and then when you get out, your body's warming up. Your veins like expand, so vasoconstriction, vasoexpansion. And so like when you get in the cold, it's like hitting the brakes on inflammation, and then when you get out or when you warm up, it's like putting the pedal on recovery, if you will.
Gotcha. I like that analogy. That's good. So talk to me about then when cold exposure is paired with a sauna. So let me see when you get out of the cold tub, then your veins expand. Do they expand more when you hop in a sauna? Like how would you come up with that analogy, or what's the science behind that?
Yeah, they expand more when you get in the sauna because your body's overheated. It needs to the blood is trying to expel like the hot energy. So like they increase the surface area basically when you get in the hot sauna.
And so that's what decreases the temperature of the blood, is the fact that it increases the surface area. Therefore, the heat and the temperature of it like gets dispersed over a larger surface area.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, just it increases the blood flow and increases the oxygen to your tissues as well. So it like also helps with recovery. Aids the detox. So it helps with the sweating, like helps take out any like toxins and helps you like recover faster that way as well.
Gotcha.
So the cold and heat work very well together. They pair very well together. So you've got the constriction and then you got the expansion. They're forced, and it creates that vascular pump. So it flushes out the lactic acid, reduces muscle soreness, improves circulation, supports lymphatic drainage, and helps you like balance your nervous system as well, because it's also doing the rest and digest like back and forth as well.
Gotcha. That's amazing. That's awesome. So that's a little bit about kind of like the recovery and probably a little bit of the immune benefit type stuff as well. But from an energy standpoint, what's going on inside of our bodies biologically to provide us with increased levels of energy? Because I know for me, anytime I've jumped in the cold, and I'm sure everybody would say the same thing, anytime you jump in the cold, like obviously it just wakes you up because it's freaking freezing and it's brutal. But what's actually going on inside of us to give us an increased level of energy, both when we jump in and lasting energy moving forward?
Yeah, so when you get in the cold plunge, you get a huge surge of. So there's multiple aspects. So there's chemical releases going in your brain, and it's also like the physical, like what we just talked about, the blood and the increased oxygen. So in the physical, you've got more blood flow and there's more oxygen getting delivered to your muscles, to your brain, so you feel more alert on that side of things. But then when you get out, you also get a chemical dump of norepinephrine, endorphins, and you just get this kind of natural high. So the norepinephrine makes you more focused, more alert. You get the dopamine, which makes you have that reward and motivation the kick, and then you get the endorphins, which is the runner's high. So you get this cocktail of transmitters in your brain that makes you feel more focused, happier, increases your mood, and makes you feel more alert and focused. And in a sense, you feel like you've got more energy. But then you also have like the physical you've got the surge of energy from the circulation, increased blood flow, increased oxygen to your brain. So you've got all those things happen at once, like after 3 minutes in the cold plunge. So it's pretty intense, and that's why everyone gets addicted. They get like this huge energy boost that switches your state instantly. So if you got a morning, like a foggy morning, you want to get in the cold plunge, it wipes everything out. You've got an important business meeting, go in the cold plunge, makes you more alert, clears out any stress in your head. And yeah, it's a lot of people use it for the energy.
Nice. That's before we dive into kind of some of the immune benefits that you can get from cold exposure. You guys have your own tub that you have with Inergize Health at energizehealth.com, and I was looking into it a little bit, and it can do both. It goes from cold and it can go to hot. Am I correct with that?
Yeah. So it goes like hot and cold, goes to 37 degrees, and then it also can go up to 105. So you've got like cold immersion as well. So you might use cold immersion during the week, or you might switch it to hot tub mode for the evening time. So cold immersion in the morning, hot tub in the evening to relax. But yeah, a lot of people use it at the weekends, like if they're working out a ton during the week, and then they use it the weekends just to recover in their kind of a hot tub at the house.
Nice. And it's portable, right? You can bring it with you different places that you go.
Yeah, it's portable. It's made with drop stitch fabric, military grade, so it blows up to 10 psi. So you can sit on it, stand on it. It's rock hard, and people use it to travel with. Like we've got guys like Drake, Will Smith that bring it around to their sets, movie sets or their concerts. But I'd say most people have it at their house, so most people keep it on a permanent setup just at their house, but they just like to use the versatility of it, having in their backyard or their patio, like move it back whenever they want. So
yeah. How long does do people transition from cold to hot with it? Like, is this used for that, or is that kind of a different thing that you would do with something like a sauna?
Yeah, you need a sauna to do like the contrast. It takes a few hours for it to switch over because there's like 80 gallons of water there. So most people would either like if they want to do that contrast, they would pair it with a sauna and jump in it back and forth in the sauna or a hot tub. But then with ours, they use the hot tub mode just if they want to like do it at the weekend or like switch it in the evening time or morning time, depending on when they want to use cold or hot therapy.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like a lot of people probably just use it as a hot tub to use it as a hot tub.
Yeah, there is a few people that just don't want the cold and they just turn on, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Well, let's dive into some of the immune system benefits as well. So talk to us about what cold exposure and how cold immersion helps us to get sick less and improves our immune health.
Yeah, so it increases our white blood cell count. So they're like your frontline soldiers for your immune system, and they hunt down bacteria, viruses. We've also touched on like the lymphatic circulation. So it has that vascular pump. So it increases your circulation, helps out flush out toxins, and then it also increases norepinephrine by 500%, which helps sharpen focus and also helps be a natural immune booster as well. So like those three things work in synchronicity to help with immunity. And there's actually a study done with Dutch workers that if they did cold showers, like 30% of them would have less sick days throughout the year if they did a cold shower daily. So yeah.
That's cool. Well, let's start to dive into some of the more practical things then. You just mentioned cold shower, so let's dive into the temperature conversation, because I know you guys with your cold tub, it gets down to 37 degrees. I guess like first off, is there something special about 37 degrees, or does the temperature have to be below a specific number where it really gets the benefits? And kind of like along the same lines, if you can tie it into the same conversation, or maybe it's just a different part of the question, is with cold showers, sometimes, like I know for me, if I take a cold shower on a super cold day outside in the winter, then it gets really, really cold. But sometimes here in the summer in Nashville, Tennessee, I turn it as cold as possible, and it's really not all that cold. So can you get to the required temperature to see the benefits with the shower as well? So try to wrap it into one.
Yeah. So in terms of like the temperature that you need, so you can start off in the 50s, like 60 degree. Like I would actually recommend that if you've got a cold plunge or you're using an ice bath, start off higher, because then you'll do the thing more repeatedly. You don't scare yourself out of going in a 37 degree and like not want to do it again. So yeah, I'd recommend going higher to get the habit enforced. In terms of like the cold showers, I think like we're like in the wintertime is super effective. Like I know when I go back to Ireland, it's freezing cold there, and I go in the cold shower and I definitely feel like I've done a cold plunge. So it probably feels the same there in Nashville. But yeah, when it comes to summertime, it's a bit harder to get that like boost of like the cold from the shower. So maybe using ice in your bathtub. But yeah, to answer your question in terms of like temperature, a lot of people have different opinions on that. I personally would say like test what works for you. And for me, like when I tried to get the habit down, when I was starting at like 37 degrees, I was like, yeah, I'm the CEO of Inergize Health. I need to like do 37 degrees. And I would just like not do it consistently if I was trying to do 37 right straight off the bat. So I just started higher. So start like 60, 55 degrees, work your way down, and just so you've got the habit. And like now, like 37 doesn't feel like an issue anymore. So I think it's kind of like just going to the gym. Like you don't want to like absolutely kill yourself on the bench or like squatting. Like you want to like load up the plates progressively. And I think it's the same thing with cold immersion.
Yeah, no, of course. And I love that approach when it comes to forming the habit. And it's also that approach will help you build up your resilience, because regardless, you're still making yourself do something that's a little bit uncomfortable. So you build up a little bit of resilience for that, and you increase your probably energy levels as well, no matter what, because it's colder than normal. But do you know, from a standpoint of like recovery, is there like a specific temperature that pro athletes, or that like just the science shows that you really kind of need to be at this temperature to really get the full recovery benefits that you want?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's like an actual temperature. I know like Dr. Huberman mentioned, as long as your breath is hard to catch. So I think that's like a gut check of, is it cold enough? Am I gasping for my breath when I go in the cold shower? Am I gasping for my breath when I go in the cold plunge? I think that's a good test. I know like Tony Robbins cold plunges every day at 56 degrees. Like Huberman probably plunges at 40. Like everyone has their different temperatures, and I think as long as it shocks your system and it's not like 30, like a 65 degrees, then I think you'll find the benefits there. But in general, I think most people plunge at 40, in the 40s. Like 45, 46 degrees is kind of like the mean temperature most people plunge at.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. And with a lot of these questions, there is the behavioral side of things from the progression side of things. So, for example, I want to ask about how long you should stay in, how many sessions per week. With all of those, I know we can go down the route of like start somewhere and then build on it. But I want to kind of skip that part of the conversation and get into how long does maybe the science show that you really want to be in there to really extract the benefits from performance, from mood, from all these things that we've talked about, from your immune system. How long do we really need to be in there to really extract those benefits? And maybe it is like you can extract it at a very short time starting off, but then you need to continue to challenge yourself more and more to continue to extract the benefits. So I'll kind of let you riff on how long per session we should be doing, and then how many like sessions per week.
Okay. Yeah. The common theme is to do 11 minutes at least per week, and at a temperature of around 50 degrees, and each session 2 to 5 minutes, I would say, is like the main protocol people recommend to reap the cold exposure maximum benefits. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice. 11 minutes per week, 2 to 5 minutes per session. But like you said, and like I would probably recommend for people, is like 2 minutes sounds like hell for you right now, do a couple of 30-second sessions and then continue to ramp up to that point, because you'll extract some benefits regardless at the shorter amount of time and the lower number of sessions. But then once you get to the point where you've mastered, if you will, the easier versions of it, then continue to ramp up till you get to that point so you can really maximize the benefits from it.
Yeah. I would say like as long as you're getting past the fight or flight stage, that's why we say like at least 2 minutes. As long as you feel your mind like stop like freaking out and your breath goes deeper and you go into that relaxed state and you're not fighting anymore, that's when you're gonna reap the benefits. So that's why they say minimum of like 2 minutes per session.
No, that's great. That's great. And that's good to know, because I feel like for a lot of people, that's going to be a very distinct point in time. That's not like necessarily when it gets easy, but when you can start to control your breath a little bit and you're not completely inhaling and exhaling rapidly, then that's a good sign that you've passed that point. I love how you talked about some of the different ways to progressively make it more difficult on yourself by decreasing temperature, increasing the amount of time, move your body, dunking your head, submerging your hands, getting in, getting back out. I know that so talk about the moving your body part and and how you want to break up the thermal layer that forms. Talk to us a little bit about why that makes it more difficult.
Yeah. So when you get in the cold plunge, it's hard at first, and then your body is warmer than the water, so it creates like a thermal layer, especially if you're still, and the micro layer around your skin gets warmer than the water that you're in. So you get used to it when you're still. So at the minute and a half mark, like the water around you is like relatively warm, and if you move, then you're breaking up that layer, and it's as if you're just back in the plunge for the first time again. So that's why people would stand up and then get back down. Or if you've got jets in the cold plunge, or if you move in the cold plunge, it breaks up the thermal layer. And a good analogy of it is if you get in a river where the water's moving, it's a lot harder than getting in any cold plunge, because the water is like, you've got no comfort of a thermal layer. Like it's constantly broken up around you. So that would be my only kind of explanation of like how it would feel.
Right. No, for sure. And that 100% makes sense. When you are very cold, you tend to want to stay still just naturally, so that thermal layer can actually keep you a little bit warmer. So I know that anytime you typically get into really, really cold water, all you want to do is kind of bundle up and shrink up and stay still, but moving breaks up that thermal layer, making it more difficult. Are there physiological or biological benefits to that, or is it simply just a matter of making it harder to therefore improve your resilience and your toughness?
Yeah. So when you like remove the thermal layer, make it harder, you have a spike of norepinephrine in your brain. So that's the science behind it. Like it's the same thing. Before you get in the cold plunge, you get a spike of norepinephrine, which is, I don't want to get in there, and you have to like override that. And when you get in the cold plunge, another spike happens, and it's your body like fighting it. And when you remove the thermal layer, that is another like spike of the norepinephrine that happens. So that's what happens. And Dr. Huberman talks about like walls of resistance. So instead of counting time and temperature like a lot of people do, he says if you want to train your resilience, you call them walls. So to build mental grit, you would increase the difficulty by moving your body, submerging your head, putting your hands under, standing up, getting down. Another weird one was doing a hard calculation in your head, which I've never done before, but apparently that's one. But yeah, those are the methods to make it harder, and like that's the reason behind it.
That's awesome. Somebody who's listening to this and who's never done it before, or hasn't done it consistently, and hates the feeling of their breath completely being taken away from them and then panting rapidly for a short period of time, what's a good breathing technique or breathing advice that you would give somebody who would like to start doing this more often, but hates the fact that their breath gets taken away so quickly and they need some sort of strategy to keep themselves calm when they get in there?
Yeah. So my first cold plunge, I did breath work before. So if you look up
before
yeah, before it, I would recommend looking up a YouTube video, just like Wim Hof box breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, and that helps you deal with like the stressful moment of getting into cold plunge. Same thing, it trains your nervous system, but without the water. And the way you do that is like 30 breaths of diaphragmatic breaths, and you're doing breath holds. So you do 30 breaths, you take a big breath hold on the exhale, and then you hold it for as long as you can, and then you take an inhale, and then you tense your muscles and hold it for as long as you can, and that's one round. So you do 3 of those, and that does the same thing, switches your sympathetic state to your parasympathetic state, does that dance. And then when you get in the cold plunge, it feels a lot less jarring when you get in, because you've kind of already trained your nervous system to deal with the stressful, like the stress, basically. Yeah, it's the way I like to think of it is like the warm up to the cold plunge.
Yeah, nice. And then when you get in, that's a little bit of the breathing beforehand. And forgive me, I don't know if you mentioned when you're actually in the cold water, what is there a particular way that you go about breathing that is best from a benefit standpoint, or that helps keep your nervous system or transition your nervous system quicker? Or
Yeah, so when you're in the cold plunge, when I'm like coaching anyone in their first time, you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. If you can do that, like try to get to that method of breathing as quick as possible. Usually people like are breathing through their mouth, which automatically like stresses your body and mind out because you're mouth breathing. But breathing in through your nose relaxes your body and mind. So if you can calm yourself and breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, long inhales, long exhales through the mouth, and try to imagine your muscles relaxing when you're in there. So I did my first cold plunge in Colombia, and the guy in my ear said, just relax, surrender the cold. And when I relaxed and my shoulders like released, then it became a lot easier. Counterintuitively, it felt a lot easier because I surrendered, my muscles relaxed, so it probably signaled to my mind everything's okay. Because when you get in and you're tensing and you're breathing through your mouth, you're telling your body and mind that I'm stressed, and it's hard to relax into it. So
yeah, no, that's great. No, I definitely feel like I've experienced the same exact thing when you first get in and everything's just tight, and then you just relax, and yeah, no, 100% helps. So if we're, again, giving an overview for somebody who's maybe just trying to get into this for a little bit, you kind of mentioned when you first start, maybe start with a little bit higher temperature, maybe 55, 60 degrees, maybe 30 seconds or so, maybe a couple times a week. And then gradually, probably the easiest things to start off by making a little bit more difficult is going just a little bit colder, and then maybe just a little bit longer, and maybe a little bit colder, and then maybe a little bit longer, until you probably get to the point where you're doing 11 minutes total per week. And that could be maybe 4 sessions at around 3 minutes per session. And then maybe do some of the more advanced stuff like moving around, getting up, getting down. Is that kind of how you would recommend somebody progressively adding this to their routine?
yeah, exactly. If they've got a cold plunge, like you want to start off in the higher temperatures, shorter time, so a minute at 60 degrees, and then you would the lowering the temperature is harder than increasing your time. So if you feel that you're progressing quicker, lower the temperature like 5 degrees and just keep working your way down until you're at the lowest temperature that the plunge can go at. So that's like 33 degrees or 37 degrees, and then when you get into the advanced stage, then you increase the difficulty with moving your body and increasing the time up to maybe 10 minutes if you want. And then doing the head dunks, you could do a head dunk right as you get in, which is pretty difficult, and then do it halfway, do it at the very end. So there's multiple ways to do it. It all depends on what you're doing it for. But if it's for that mental resilience and grit, then that's definitely the way I would go about it.
Nice. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. What is your current routine for your cold immersion? Like, how many days? When do you, like, what time of day do you usually do it? How many days per week? What's like minutes are you working at per week right now? And what are some of the like maybe things that you're doing to make it harder on yourself?
Yeah, so I as I said, I started off pretty high in 60 degrees, but now I'm down to like 37 degrees. I do it for 3 minutes every morning. So I got this from Ben Greenfield. He cold plunges straight away when he wakes up. He says it's the 21 rule. So within 20 minutes, he cold plunges for 1 minute. And yeah, I've been doing that and doing it for 37 degrees, 3 minutes. And it's been working well. Like I do it for focus, for energy, for mental discipline, grit, all those things. And it puts me in a good mood for the day. I also have a gym that has a cold plunge. So if I work out late at night, a lot of people say don't cold plunge right after like strength training, but I personally love doing it because I can sleep right after a workout, like no matter how late it is. So if I work out at 7 to 8 o'clock, cold plunge, then I can sleep at 9. So it helps reduce your heart rate. You need to like reduce your body temperature, so it preps you for sleep, like forces you to prep for sleep. So that's my protocol. Like every morning, 3 minutes, 37, and then after the gym, I would do it for a minute to lower my body temperature and help me sleep better at night.
Gotcha. Good stuff. Well, this has been great, man. Excited to look a little bit more into y'all's cold plunge that you have with Inergize Health. And people can find that at energizehealth.com. And you can also follow Ciaran at Irish Ice Method on Instagram. Is there any other good place that people should go learn more about you and learn more about the cold plunge that y'all have?
Yeah, our website, energizehealth.com. As you said, the Instagram, Inergize Health, and then Irish Ice Method. And yeah, we're launching a new product soon to get more people involved in cold exposure, which is going to be a more affordable one. So right now our cold plunge is kind of more for advanced people, the app control and lower temperature, but we're launching a one without all the frills, but has cold water and clean water. And the goal is to make it more accessible for everyone.
Nice. So is it maybe not portable? Does it not get quite as low?
Yeah, so it's portable. It's a pod, inflatable, still the same material, not as thick sides, but the chiller is lower horsepower, so it's a quarter horsepower. It's got inbuilt filtration as well, and then it's super like good quality. So I feel like there's not a lot of good high quality, low price point chillers and tubs out there. So yeah, it's got all the things, but just doesn't have the app control. It doesn't get down to 37. It gets to 38. It doesn't have as much power, so it cools a bit longer than the other one that we have, and it doesn't go hot. But the tub is drop stitch fabric, still high quality, and yeah, everything's plug and play, so it only takes 5 minutes to set up. And it's small spaces, so it only has a 4-foot footprint. So if you got like a small apartment or you've got a balcony, it'll fit there, no problem. And yeah, hopefully it appeals to a lot more people than our current one, which is more for the advanced cold plungers.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome, dude. Well, I hope you guys have taken a little bit of notes on how you can get started with this, the benefits of cold exposure and cold immersion. I'm sure a lot of you guys listening have heard a little bit about it, but maybe hopefully didn't know the details and maybe didn't know a great resource to where you could get a cold plunge yourself, and now you do. So make sure you follow them at Inergize Health, and you follow Ciaran at Irish Ice Method to check out the cold plunge. If you want to, then go to energizehealth.com, and we'll have that in the show notes, but that's starts with an I, Energize Health.com. Other than that, Ciaran, that's all we got today, man. Really appreciate you educating the people on cold exposure. Y'all make sure you like and subscribe here on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, make sure you hit the follow button there as well, and share it with a friend or family member who you think would like to give cold immersion a try. That's all we got today, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
That was such an insightful conversation on the real science-backed benefits of cold exposure and how to practically integrate it into your routine. He brought so much clarity to a topic that's often misunderstood and not really given its due diligence. And I hope that you're walking away with the confidence that I know how to get started with this myself. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the follow button on the Apple Podcast app or on Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. Here are my 3 biggest takeaways from today's episode. Number 1 is don't start too cold or too long. Just like any habit, you want to form it before you optimize it. Just like when you first go to the gym, you're not going to lift 200 pounds. You're going to start with whatever you can, and then you're going to progressively build on it. So don't start crazy cold. Don't start crazy long. Start as cold as you can and as long as you can, and then progressively increase the difficulty from there until you get to the point where you're doing about 2 to 5 minute sessions and maybe a total of 11 minutes per week. Takeaway number 2 is that the 3 main benefits from cold exposure are going to be, number one, the mental benefits of improving your self-discipline, improving your identity and your confidence, and really improving your mood. The second one is going to be the performance benefits of increasing your energy levels and improving your recovery. And thirdly is your immune health because of the increased production of white blood cells that you have in your body. And then my third takeaway is that anybody can do this. You don't need to go buy their $3,000 cold plunge, if you will. They actually have a much cheaper version, though, on their website for about $590. I think I just saw it when I looked it up. But you can do this with a cold shower. You can do this with filling up a tub with water and filling it with ice. Anybody can do this. I know that might be a little bit more laborious to doing it with a tub with ice, and I have not done that, admittedly, but I do cold showers personally. When I get to the point when I want to spend the money on a cold plunge, then I will do so. I really believe in the benefits that I can provide from all of the different types of benefits, from the mental, the performance, the energy levels, the immune system. I really do believe in all of this stuff. So if you want next level results, if you want to take things to a new height with your health and wellness, then consider getting a cold plunge. Remember, you can go to energizehealth.com to learn more about them. But if you can do some of these things, you'll look better, you'll feel better, and ultimately, you'll get closer and closer to your best you.